Oh, no
So
worries. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to press something else.
let me explain, introduce you to our attendees and other fellow speakers. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our last keynote speaker presentation by Dora Maria. So, ladies, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce a dynamic speaker whose influence extends far beyond the realm of technology and leadership. Dora Maria, an exclusive engineer, project manager, and an award winning author, is not just a professional. She's a force of positive change. With a remarkable ability to ignite diverse voices, foster connections, and build vibrant communities. Dora Maria exemplifies the intersection of technology, leadership, mentorship, emotional intelligence, and communication. Today, she stands before us not only as an accomplished individual, but as an empowering force, bridging gaps and empowering individuals across the STEM and beyond. Let us warmly welcome Dora Maria Arbu to the stage, where her insights promise to inspire and ignite the flames of positive transformation. Wow, that's a wonderful bio. So we wish you all the very best for the talk. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Melinda. Appreciate that. And thank you everyone for joining us here today. And it is my honor and privilege to be here speaking to all of you today. And I wanted to definitely also applaud you for wanting to embark on this journey, right, of transformation. And a lot of the things that we talk about during the month of March every year do center around women. But a woman is really like I feel it's the cornerstone of our community, right? We give birth to children, we are the caretakers, and we're also the compassion givers in our home. But then we lead that, right? So that we involve our partners to do the same, our children to do the same in our community. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today in enchanting leadership, right? It's like captivating, it's an action word, right? And that's what I would love for all of you to reflect on your journey of action. How are you taking your leadership and compassion and weaving it together with your strengths and doing with that to empower that community around you? All right. So today I'm going to talk about our strengths and the community. I'm going to about identifying those innate strengths. Sometimes we don't know what those are, and just bringing them to light will help for us to come together as a community, but also with ourselves. Sometimes it starts with us for us to be able to get out in the community and do more. Secondly, we want to look at what the role of emotional intelligence has in our spaces. We have the opportunity to look at and audit ourselves, our emotions, and how we react to things that happen in our lives. And then number three, building and leveraging community support. So I'll dive in a little bit about that. And practical tips for enchanting leadership in your lives. And lastly, creating a legacy of empowerment. A lot of times we are not thinking toward the future, and everything we do today, everything we've done in the past leads to the future. And hopefully, you will take inventory of what that has been for you on your journey, on this life journey that we have. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this innate strength. This innate strength here for us, we are looking at an example. So I'm going to give an example just so that you can visualize a person, but it doesn't necessarily have to be her journey, right? Exactly. This is just an example. So Indra Nuji is a former CEO of PepsiCo, and she is really renowned for her foresight, right? Like she has really innovative thinking, and she leveraged that to build her leadership style and guide PepsiCo towards such a like healthier products, and just really showing her understanding of redefining that organization's path. So here is, how are you auditing your data points? How are you doing that in your community? How are you auditing maybe the health of that community? Maybe there could be gardens that could be planted where people can grow their own vegetables. Um, all of these things that could help us to lead healthier lives, right? Maybe something else is, hey, having a walk where a community comes together and goes for a short walk in the park. That helps to alleviate a lot of stress, and it helps to encourage people to come together in community to go and do something physical, right? Because movement is life. A lot of us think like, oh, when I retire, no, you don't retire from a healthy life. You don't. And movement is life. So hopefully you're coming together with your community, and it starts at home, right? Audit yourself. How physical are you? How are you looking inward to understand, hey, I'm really good at sticking to a routine in the morning. That's when I'm going to do some physical activity, walking, making sure that you go and maybe it's just literally lifting weights, or if it's not lifting weights or going to the gym or anything physical, going for a swim, or even just moving and stretching, right? Because movement is life. How are you auditing yourself in what you eat? Right? Looking at what is in front of you and understanding that a plate of life is a colorful plate, that we're not just eating only carbs and that we're not eating only vegetables, right? Like we're having a mixture of things that we are eating, and understanding that you can drive anything that you can put your mind to. A lot of times we think, oh, we can't do that. I'm not strong enough. I'm like too young to do this or I'm too old to do that. And we get wrapped up in what the media or society thinks we should be doing, that we don't look at what we can actually do. So look at your calendars. I challenge every single one of you to look at your calendars and see, have you scheduled when to drink water, when to take a break? How does that calendar look? Is it just work, work, work? Is it empty? Is your calendar empty with nothing on it? Have you planned something incredible for the day, for the week, for the month, for yourselves, for your families? All of that can happen if you focus on doing something that is toward your healthier self, right? And as Indra did with her company, it changed the path of where she was leading. But this can also change the path of your healthy journey and your healthy life. So hopefully you can take that into account as you're going through your journey of life. The second thing I want you to think about is the role of emotional intelligence. Here, the example I have for you is Jacinda, right? Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. It was incredible watching her during COVID. Just her poise, her confidence, her empathetic responses to everything that kept coming up, but especially for the response to that massacre that happened, right, in the mosque, right, shootings during COVID. And literally, you can see where her compassion and sensitivity to unite and heal the communities was front and center, right? And compassion starts with self love. So she loved herself so much that she wanted to make sure that love was around her in her community, in the country that she led. And she was an example to all of us to take a step back and lean into compassion, lean into self love, and lean into grace. Sometimes we have to show ourselves grace. A lot of us sometimes are beating ourselves up. We're our own worst critic, yes, but then we have to let it go. Be your own, like the president of the pity parade, be your own worst critic for 3 seconds. Allow yourself that. Okay, but those 3 seconds are up. Move on and let it go. Let it go so that you can then see the healing for yourself. So, this is a beautiful example of how it was done during a very trying time and a very difficult time. It's not easy to stand in front of a whole country and be vulnerable and confident and exude that part of yourself that lets people know that compassion is okay to be compassionate. So hopefully you're looking at your emotional intelligence, taking an audit of that, and understanding that compassion starts with that self love and giving yourself some grace. How are you forgiving yourself, forgiving others? Because life is going to continue to happen, and hopefully, we're going to continue to learn from that. Building and leveraging community support. Here, the example that I'd like to share is Alicia Barancena Ibarra. She's an executive secretary of the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. And just to see her work, she has been instrumental in really advocating for the economic and social development throughout her region. And this has really fostered collaboration, a lot of collaboration. And when you look at that, it's collaboration among countries to tackle issues of poverty, inequality, and sustainable development. It really just shows the power of coming together. How are you helping to have those around your community come together to collaborate and to work with others, right? And one of the things I can encourage you to do is to work with the communities that are in your own community. You don't have to go far. You don't have to get on a plane to go do this. It starts at home. It starts with unifying your family. It starts with unifying that extended community in your neighborhood. And you can come and say, hey, this summer, let's do a bake off and raise money for a cause that's going to help our community. Maybe our parks are really needing some care, or maybe our streets and parks are needing some cleanup. Let's organize a cleanup day. All of those things done in community, in collaboration with each other, will help to build and leverage community support and build that compassion for one another as well. So, again, how are you working to collaborate with others? And it doesn't have to be something that can take money, just a little bit of time. Maybe it's reading. There's National Read Aloud Day that we celebrate here in the United States today. And people are doing that during the week, maybe going to a senior center and playing dominoes, or maybe reading a book to an elderly person in your community, right? Any of those activities can help to build community. It helps to build collaboration. You're working with other organizations and entities that will help to also help people not feel so alone as well, right? That's a leader. That's being a leader, making sure that you're out there building community, especially in pockets where we don't have that so easily, right? And understanding that there are those in the community that need that support, that connection, right? And I think after the last 2 years of solitude that a lot of us have endured, coming together in community will help to build some love in that place as well as connection. The other thing I'd like to highlight here is practical tips for enchanting that leadership, right? So here, the example that I have for you is Sheryl Sandberg. She's a COO of Facebook. I think all of you know what that is, but just for those of you that don't know, that's a company here in the US and, well, headquartered here. It's really global. But she was the founder of leanin.org. And I don't know if many people know that, right? And it basically exemplified leadership that it just really integrated personal strengths with practical strategies. And through this organization, she had so many circles of women coming together on different topics and navigating those challenges together, right? It's like a prayer from heaven. We came together, we had conversations. I joined various circles myself, and I felt, wow, I'm really not alone in this. Other people are also feeling some of this. How can I connect with other people, growing those relationships, growing my network, and understanding like, hey, let me share with you what I've been doing, my best practices. And then they shared theirs. We've been able to connect, we've been able to collaborate, we've been able to share, and now we're able to elevate. We're able to elevate ourselves to a stronger situation and background that has put us in a place of not just building and connection, but also an elevation, right? We get to understand, like, hey, I can approach this challenge in a different way and get different results. And sometimes that's all we need is an opportunity to approach something with a clearer head and understand that we can come together with other people to get that done. And a lot of times we get in our own heads, oh, we should have, we could have, shoulda, coulda, woulda. That is not going to change the past. We also cannot change the future. All we can do is understand the present moment that we're in and understand that, hey, this did not work, but something else could. And understanding that is important. Let me pivot and continue on this direction because these did not work. And understanding and not beating yourself up that your actions were futile, right? But in taking reflection, in connecting with others, in collaborating with others and exchanging those ideas, it might just help you to think outside of the box, look at something from a different lens. Every single one of us has a lived experience, and we're going to put these glasses on of life, right? We're going to put those glasses on of life through that lived experience. So if I have lived my life, and I'll say that I have lived through winters in New York that have been brutal. If someone were to tell you winter is coming and you're living in the Sahara Desert, are you going to bring a coat and a hat and a scarf because your experience of winter has been the New York winter where it's freezing? Or are you going to be open minded enough to take those glasses off and see that you are now in the desert? And a winter in the desert is very different from a winter in the cold snow, right? So, understanding that life has filters through which we have lived through, and those filters shade and they cover our mind to think clearly. And sometimes we have to push those clouds aside and really focus on clarity so that we can really grow our relationships, our networks, and the decisions that we then make can be clearer as well. So hopefully you're taking Cheryl's example here and understanding, hey, she started this support group for women to come together and lean into the challenge, not to give up, to lean into it. What are you leaning into? Hopefully, you're leaning into those things that are challenging you and pivoting to something that is working for you, right? That is working for that challenge to be defeated and for you to move forward. So, hopefully, this has given you a different way to approach that. Here, my last point and example is going to be creating a legacy of empowerment. And here, as I take a little sip of water, um, creating a legacy, what does that mean to you? Take a moment and reflect on what legacy is for you personally. The example here that I have for you is Malala. I think everyone knows her. She actually won a Nobel Peace Prize for this. But she's advocating for girls' education. She really has embodied courage, right? Not just the legacy of empowerment. Besides being a survivor of an assassination attempt for her activism, she just continues to inspire and lead global efforts to really make sure that girls all around the world are getting their education. And how can that example be there for you? How are you building a legacy that's going to live beyond you? How are you sharing your story? Your story is going to inspire others. A lot of times we forget that our story deserves to be heard. And hopefully you are taking a moment to think about how are you going to build a legacy for your life, for those that you love, so that when you're no longer around, they remember all those lessons that you've learned, because that's how we continue to advance through adversity. That's how we begin to make a impact, not just in our community, but globally. How amazing would it be that your story impacted the next Nobel Prize winner, right? The next Peace Prize winner, and maybe other things like the cure to diseases and maybe other things that are challenging our world on a global level. You have inspired that person to take action because of your story. So, what is your legacy? I know that a lot of people are writing books, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a book. Your legacy could be like we have Sheryl Sandberg that also did, she did a book, but she started that organization, Lean In. Doesn't have to be an organization. It could be whatever you wish it to be. So hopefully you're looking at what legacy you're leaving behind. As a community, we have a lot of women that we have as examples that have given us an opportunity to bring our communities together, to lift our level of connection, and to also support one another. So hopefully you're thinking about that. You're thinking about how you can also pass that on to your family, to your community, and understand help them to understand that they also have a story and they also have a legacy to leave behind of empowerment to those in the community around them. And the last thing I wanted to dive in a little bit into is what resilient factors can you create, right? So, how will you be resourceful to ensure self love for yourself? I know days could be rough. It could be something that came from left field and really just took a blow in your breath, is now not where it used to be to put that pep in your step. But you know what you can do? You know that when you are dealing with a situation, you end up being very reserved. Or maybe when you get really upset, you just get very angry and you take it out on those around you. What are you going to put in place so that you know that you've established that self care, that you take a moment to give yourself some love, some grace, some forgiveness, and then be able to handle that situation with kindness, right? How are you building that up? So there are things that are there's apps, right? I use some apps too to one, there's music that I have playlists that help me to just relax and diffuse my I let myself feel my emotion for a few seconds and then I diffuse it so that I can have a clear head and think clearly as to what my next step should be. So I have music. I have other apps like calm and meditation apps to help me just ground myself into what is important. Because sometimes I have to think to myself, will this be important in 3 days, in 1 year, in 3 years? Will this really be that important? And when I look at it from that lens, it helps me to take a step back, to audit the situation, and then ground myself and to be objective and clear. And then I proceed with clarity to make a decision to move forward. The second thing is, how will you be relentless in forgiving? Forgiving yourself. A lot of times we get caught up in not forgiving ourselves in woulda, shoulda, coulda land. And we do not take the moment to really say, you know what? I made a mistake. It's on me, but that's okay. I have learned from this and I'm going to move on and I'm going to let that go. Hopefully, you have looked at life like that. You have figured out ways to forgive others. Sometimes I've seen families that don't speak to one another, don't they lose connection. They lose that whole family respect and love, and all over a misunderstanding. How long will that grudge go on? And it's very disheartening. So I challenge all of you. It is not easy. It happens to all of us. But what steps are you taking to be relentless in forgiving others, in forgiving yourself, to ensure that you are building a community around you that is built on connection and resiliency? And lastly, the last factor I'd like you to think about is how will you rise again and again and again? Life has the funny thing of knocking us down sometimes, and sometimes it knocks the wind out of us. But that is not an excuse for you to give up. So I'm challenging you to audit yourself in what are your weaknesses in giving up, what pushes you to the point of no return, and figuring out the formula for yourself of what will help you keep you focused. I know after losing my mom to breast cancer, I was I was angry at the world. I wanted the sun to stop shining. I wanted the world to stop turning. I wanted the world to stop. because my mom was gone. And it took me a moment to say, you know what? I am not the first person to lose my mom. And there are many others who have lost their mom. But it's up to me to make my mom proud of who I am today, tomorrow, and as long as I'm alive, for her to be proud of who she raised. And I am grateful today for the time I had with my mom. There's so many people that don't even have a mom or lose her really early in their lives and never get to share any moments. And I had her for my youth. And I go back now in life and I look at it and I rise and rise and rise again when I am faced with adversity because I am my mother's daughter. And I think to myself, I will not let this situation define who I am because I am my mother's daughter and I will make her proud that her sacrifices in life to give me a better life were not in vain. So that is my North Star when I'm faced with adversity. I take a moment and I remember that I am my mother's daughter. And how will I rise again to make her proud of who I am? So hopefully you can figure that out for yourself. What motivates you to rise again? And sometimes you have to do it for yourself because you want to see what happens when you do rise again. And hopefully you're looking in the mirror and you're saying to yourself, girl, you got this. So hopefully you're going to turn around in your next moment of adversity. You're going to take that moment and rise again. So I want to take a moment to say thank you so much for listening to my talk today. Hopefully, it's giving you ideas on how to be resilient and how to enchant your leadership within you because we are all leaders. We are all leaders. We lead ourselves every single day into an incredible day. And that day is only as incredible as you want it to be and you make it to be because we take action. And that's what enchanting leadership is about taking that action into making sure that we're building a resilient soul, right? So that no matter what life throws at you, you are kind and you are resilient in facing it. Thank you very much. And I'd love to have any comments, any questions. I know a lot of people are probably online. This is a virtual space. But again, it's about how do we come together in this community and support one another. And when we don't have an idea on how to do that, we reach out and ask. We ask a friend and collaborate. So hopefully, those of you will help to do that in the chat. If not, I will put my information in the chat. Happy to share any ideas with anyone who's having a challenging time building their community. I know a lot of times it seems a little difficult. I had that when we were doing a bunch of women groups in the tech space, a lot of challenges people were going through in their jobs, and we were able to come together and build a mentorship network and join and collaborate with other organizations that are out there, and like the Society of Women Engineers and Latinas in Tech, and Black Girls Who Code, and all of that has come to pass to make things a little easier. And we find and we connect and we help to mentor those that are coming up the ranks in the technology space as well. So hopefully some of these ideas resonate with some of you and you can turn around and help your community, whether it's at home, in your community centers, or in your neighborhoods, or in your workspaces as well. So with that, I will welcome any questions. I don't know if anyone is in the chat and wants to chime in, but definitely put any comments or questions there. It was my honor and pleasure again to be here speaking to all of you, and I hope that this has hit home for some of you.
Thank you. One second. Thank you, Dara. That was a wonderful speech altogether. And, the key points, I mean, the three key
Oh,
points
thank you very
were
much, Melinda.
insightful as well. And the way you were remembering and grateful for your mother's journey, I mean, towards our success. Everyone should be grateful for their own parents. So that's one thing. And the question posted here
Hmm.
is how do leaders maintain, build trust among their team members and clients at the workplace,
Okay,
actually.
so yeah, building trust is very important. And part of that is being vulnerable, being honest, and making sure that there's open communication. When you communicate with your clients, you're coming straight forward with an open mind and an open heart. And you're going there and you're asking questions. But guess what? You're also actively listening. In actively listening, they know that we are paying attention, that we care, and they know that they matter. So, this is our opportunity to connect with them by being active listeners and build trust by asking questions. And after that, they will start to communicate more openly with us as well. That open communication helps us to understand what their key issues and issues are really their problems. And when they are honest about that, then we can really help them, right? Because some of our clients don't tell us up front if they don't trust us. They won't tell us what really is their problem or issues in their work environment. And on teams in your corporate spaces, it is important to get to know people. I think it's been challenged a little now with this whole hybrid work environment, but take the time to really get to know your colleagues and get to know them outside of the workspace so that you know who you are and you know each other's heart. And when you have a communication and a conversation, they see that you're coming from a good place and not assuming the worst. So assume positive intent. I think a lot of us go through life thinking someone's out to get us. Trust me, everyone is so busy in their lives. They're not waking up in the morning like, how do I not trust this person? That is not happening. So understand that and understand that people, they just want to be seen and heard and loved. And if you can show them that by actively listening and caring about what they have to say, trust me, they will open up. They will tell you what their problems are and then give you that opportunity to really support and help them through that issue.
Yes, that very much answered our question. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Dora. She has given her links in the chat. Please reach out to her. And this is so good. I mean, we are ending this Win Ideas Pro Summits virtual summit with her session. So, thank you so much for being here. And here I conclude with the ending speech here. So, let me give a quick ending note. So, so ladies and gentlemen, as we bring the curtains down on this remarkable women leadership conference with the sponsors of Win Ideas and Pro Summit organizations, Virtual Summit 2024 on the International Women's Week. So I am filled with profound sense of gratitude and empowerment. The past few days have been a testament to the strength, resilience, and brilliance that define women in leadership. We have heard stories that resonate, gained insights, and enlightened the forged connections that inspire. This conference was not just gathering, it was a celebration of incredible strides women are making in every sector. As we disperse, let us carry the torch of empowerment, mentorship, and collaboration that has been lit here. Let, let the discussions and lessons learned fuel our endeavors and amplify your voices in the realms that decisions are made. Remember, the impact of this conference is not just confined to these virtual walls, but our communities. Let us continue to uplift, support, and champion one another, fostering a world where every woman can thrive. Thank you for being part of this transformative journey. And until next time, we'll be signing off. Remember that we have a physical event on March 7th, 8th, and 9th on International Women's Day in Paris, France. We will be sharing our live links. Please do watch out that session, and they will be able to, see you too. So please watch out for that space. And we will be having 120 speakers coming out onto the global stage on International Women's Day. Thank you for all your support, and stay tuned on our website for our upcoming conferences in Miami and Italy as well. Yeah, we are so thank you so much, and appreciate a warm welcome, and signing off until the next time. Thank you.